Gotcha.
And man, I got so many people that tagged me in that post, which is awesome.
Yep.
Like it was great, but I was like, I don't know what you want me to do.
Yep.
I don't even work at the 4.6s, let alone have the money to try and buy it. So it's I
Oh,
mean,
come on
like I
now.
understand why everybody was tagging me, but like yeah, I was like, I don't know, man. But yeah, everything he's told me is like they know it's sold, or it's like it's under contract, but nothing has gone through yet. But from what
Gotcha.
they tell them, it's supposed like they're supposed to just run it like normal. And I've heard that they're trying to do a spin-off of Yellowstone down at the sixes, which I mean, if they do, I've got a pretty good in. So we might get some might get to talk some shit on some actors at some point, but uh
Yep.
maybe, I don't know. But like yeah, they really haven't told those guys from what I understand.
And they're usually the last guys to know out of everybody, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was at JBS when Five Rivers sold to JBS. And dude, it was a 2 month process of like transferring everything over. And the person that actually had to do the transferring over had no fucking clue what any of it meant. It's it yeah, it's what it is. But
And that's what I think it's come up a couple times in the interviews, and he keeps saying, "Oh, we're supposed to have a meeting about it any day," but I
yeah.
guess we haven't had the meeting yet.
Well, and I mean, if they made him go about his way, holy shit, they would get crucified.
Oh
So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I mean he's I mean he really is the real deal. I like I've shook his hand at 88 years old, and I've watched him cruise around. And like no joke, he can get a job done. Like he's not going to go out and be the first one to go stick one on a bull or whatever. He's not going to be the first guy out to go do something. But like he can earn a wage. That's
Yep.
no joke. I mean,
Well, and
he's
he shouldn't
still
have to be the guy at this point in his life, first one to fall out of line, dropping out through the pasture,
no.
first one step out, go hang his twine on something, or he shouldn't be the first guy to go set the gate. You know, he's kind of earned that right. You know, he's
Yeah,
earned that
eh,
right to be the guy that gets to hang back and clean up the mess.
I think he earned
exactly.
that right about
But
30
I
years ago.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I think like if you really had to go do something, like man, we gotta go rope this bull or whatever, he'd do it. I mean, he won't do it. I mean, he's gonna be like, oh fuck, this is gonna suck. But like, I mean, he'd do it. And
Not
I think he could
again.
get. I think even at 88, he could still get it done. I
Yeah.
mean, he's not going to be the first guy you call, but he could get it done. And so like he always says, like I'm not as quick as I used to be. But I've seen him operate a little bit, and he's still making a wage.
Yep.
Granted, there's a lot of publicity behind him, but he's still earning a wage. Like he's not dead weight.
I
No.
hope to be like him someday, where all I get to ride is broke horses.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I'm sure his string of ponies is pretty nice and pretty even, pretty gentle, and pretty broke. I don't have that luxury.
No. Oh, that's one of the nice things about working for the fucking 4.6s is you. Oh, he said last episode. He said they got 22 studs right there right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
got plenty to choose from.
He's getting horses that are started and gentle for him, ready to go ride. I'd imagine at this point. I
Yeah.
think he already
Well,
spent his time busting teeth on the colts. He's not having to. He's not having to. Doesn't matter how well you breed them. Sometimes stepping on the good ones isn't much fun anyway.
Yeah.
that's the thing is like you look at Paris Hilton. She came from fucking business royalty, but what'd she do except get fucked, and not very exciting when she did either. But hey, she still made a bunch of money. So
Yeah.
if you figure out how to package that, you can still make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Paris Hilton might not be her granddad that made $1 billion, but she's still worth some money. So
Yeah.
it's how you package it. But it's funny. I've never rode any Tanqueray Jan colts, but Boots said that was his favorite stud coming off.
I've rode some of them when I was living on the West Coast, and a buddy of mine here's got some granddaughters and grandsons, and yeah, I like them. I mean, they make real nice ranch horses, real nice rope horses, and they've gotten a little diluted, but first generation, second generation, boy, they made some really nice cow horses.
Well, that's what I heard.
When I was riding colts for the A-Bar there in Oklahoma, they had a Tanker Gin son, and they was crossing them on sugar bar bred mares, and those are some of the best using all around rope horse ranch horses. To this day, they're some of the best I've ever rode.
Yep,
they're just
I like those reining bred horses because they got a little bit of length to them, but they still got some size, because that they got to look nice when they're traveling out, but they still got to have bone enough to hit a hard stop. So I mean, they build them with just enough bone to them where like it makes a good ranch horse, but they're fancy on their feet.
Yep, quick footed, sharp and bright eyed on a cow.
Yes,
that makes a big world of difference.
The range cow horses, if you cross them on a nice foundation bred mare, that's about as good a using horse as a person's going to find, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, but then you look at what did he say? He was at the JA when Boots started just busting broncs, and they just run them in, rope them, 4-foot them, tie them down, put a hackamore and saddle them on them, and then let them up, and then you'd blindfold them and get on them. Just have at it, fellas. And man, it's funny to think that like that's still only one person ago where that was the norm.
When I was a kid starting, we did some pretty wild, pretty cowboy shit back then. I had a neighbor that wanted me to ride colts, and one was kind of pretty bronky and had my number, and he wanted to put a set of W's on his front. And I told him, I said, my dad's got one son. We're going to keep it that way. I ain't piling on that son of a bitch with a set of W's on him. And, another outfit I worked out for out in Southeast Oregon, we get 4, 5, 6 rides on them buggers in the trails, and out the door you went. And I mean, it was 25 miles up there to Grapefruit Springs, and you struck a trot. And some of them bastards would sell out, and it might be 4 miles before you got one bent around. I mean, it was there wasn't a whole lot of niceties to when I started, and that wasn't that long ago. I don't think I'm that old yet.
Well, how old are you?
43.
43. All right, you ain't that much older than me. So a little bit, but
I've been on some wild rides with colts, early rides, but it was pretty much pure ignorance. It wasn't just because I had to go get a job done.
Yeah. Well, that same outfit out in Oregon, I think I started 36 head of colts for him that winter, and you'd pile on, like I said, you'd get 4 or 5 rides in the round pen or the pens there, and you'd strike a trot, go check cows, go throw some Remenson blocks out, and that big pasture going up there north of the headquarters is where they kept all their yearling stud bands. Boy, you'd be riding through there, quirting them bastards off with the tail of your rope, your quirt, and that poor colt you was on didn't know what the hell was going on. The 7, 8, 3, 4, 5-year-old studs trying to chew them up. Boy, it was pretty Western a few times, and then coming home in the dark by the moonlight some nights back through them bastards. I always wished they'd let me pack a pistol, but I think they'd have been short horse flesh by the time I was done.
Yeah, it's one, man. Like most of my cowboy career has been in the feedlot, so like you learn to get those fuckers choked up real quick, or you're gonna end up on your head, caved in on some pipe. So like I had this I still got him, but it's a buddy's horse of mine. He's a old arena puke. He's like 16 or 17 by now. And he'll buck every time when he's fresh. He'll buck, not hard, like just it's like it's a pretty solid crow hop. Hard to get the timing on it. Almost impossible to make it look good, but it's not hard to cover. But he does it every fucking time. And it's got to the point where like I'm old enough where I don't want to get my thighs beat up first in the morning. So I just jip him around at the end of a lunge line, let him get out of it. He's good. Yeah. Well, we've got 5 loads going out the other day, and they're all beef loads, like 8 weights. And he bucked at the end of the lunge line, started acting all right. We gathered a pin, brought him up to the scales, and the second draft, bringing him to the scales, he decided to go bucking. Like as I'm going to count out my next draft, he goes bucking right in the middle of 200 head. And it's, one of those ones where your butthole just goes, oh, fuck. Do I bail or do I just, because you can't pull him up, because you pull him up, he might step on a steer and go down. So you give him his head and like, please get over close to a fence so I can just grab onto something. And ooh, that motherfucker. He like he shut down like we got like right to the middle of the herd, so we're about 100 head deep, and then he just stopped. It was like, were you gonna count those or what? Motherfucker.
Well, this last Sunday we went down to a jackpot roping and took a couple sale horses to head and heel off of, and I bought a pretty nice gelding from a friend last fall for my boy just to make a slave out of him. Pretty nice little switch ender. But the deal was, when I bought this gelding, the kid that owned him was a good friend and told me, he says, if you cinch him up and just step on him and go, he will pop. And the horse's name is Onan. He's 19 years old, and I mean, is as steady at switch ender as I've ever stepped on. I warmed him up for a good 10 minutes for the last roping of the day, backed in the box, heading, and called for my steer, went out about 7 hole, stood up, my right stirrup went to send it, and that son bitch swallowed his head. And I mean, swallowed it hard. My cantle board slapped me in the hips about 4 times, and I was hollering at my healer, don't let the steer hit the out gate. I'm going to still rope that son of a bitch. And he let him out. Well, I get called up like 5 calls later back in the box on old bay horse there. About the same damn spot, he swallowed his head. And God, man, you talk about feel like an old fat gal out there. You can't grab your coils, can't push on your horn. You got your reins and your coils, and you're stood up out over top of him, and some buck just about pulls a knife on you. And that's supposed to be my kid's horse. I mean,
yep.
There's nothing worse than one swallowing its head when you're stood up to rope. Oh, I hate that.
Oh, it's a horrible feeling, and
that makes you want to cut one's throat right there.
Well, I might have said a few choice words. Little kids might have had to cover their ears for a minute or two.
Yeah.
They get used to
today
it.
Was the Hickory Holly Time son that I've been showing here for the last year. He abscessed last week, so he's had a whole week off healing up. I've got to head to a show in the morning, so today I stuck a shoe back on him and saddled him up. He felt really good. Boy, the first fence turn we made, he just swallowed that cow. And when he went to leave with it, we were going vertical. That's the first time he's pitched in over a year, probably. But by golly, he was feeling froggy after being pinned up for a week, healing up from that abscess. Somehow I rode him out of it, but he was feeling sassy there. He made about a 3/4 lap around the arena there, and it's a big arena. He was getting after it. But
I gotta admit, when I did that little video of my Mustang Mayor and she went to bucking on me, that might have been the most difficult bronc ride I've ever made in my life, because I was like, she's got one of those great big old fucking Andalusian U-necks. Like when she bogs her head, she's got some fucking power and like got some drop. She doesn't have a whole lot of extension on the back end, but when she drops her head, like she means business. And so I was trying not to lose it and everything. And so I got my phone here and the reins here, and I'm just like, please don't try to jump over a fence. Like that was the main thing. It's like, please don't try to clear a fence. And we got her covered, but I still haven't got 35,000 for her. I don't know why.
That's the nice thing about sale barns and feedlots. A lot of times, at least you've got some barriers there to help you steer them around when they're humping.
I mean, it does help a bunch. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a lot better than seeing a
fence in front of them. They'll shut down
in front of you whenever you're out in the middle of a pasture somewhere and they're swallowing their head.
Yeah, if you could kind of throw a slicker out in front of them, they'll stop. But I don't know how much that'll help you. But a fence works.
But it's like a lot of them guys I grew up around here. And then out there on the West Coast and in Montana, when I worked out in Montana, I worked with some probably one of the best open country ranch bronc riders I've ever seen. I mean, Jim's the real deal. I mean, I've never seen a man before or since that could just hang and rattle that nice on a horse. And he'd always get there and shoulder into you. And I mean, you'd see him riding along that big old drone horse of his, and he'd just be looking like this, and all of a sudden he'd come out with these coils and go to beating that sumbitch on the shoulder and get his head up and away he'd go. And he taught a lot of us younger guys to, and my granddad, get in there, shoulder one in and get one help stood up. But man, in this country where I'm at now, it's full of kind of team ropers and some wheat farmers, and I don't want none of them pot lickers near me. If I get one that swallows its head and goes to pitching out across the prairie, I might get killed by one of the team ropers trying to come in and take a video of me to put me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's like, get the hell away from me. I'll get this sunbuck covered. Just stay away from me now. Where back in the day, I was squawking like a wounded goat for somebody to come in and shoulder one over.
Yeah. Well, when I come up to visit you, I've got a good enough camera where I can zoom in, so I don't have to. So
that's one thing kind of peeves me with all these. We keep seeing some of these horses bucking around on Facebook and whatever, and not a single one of those videos is a guy right up there, up in the middle of them, shouldering that horse around for him.
I know.
Which, like Derek said, a lot of these team ropers and shit, you kind of want them to stay the hell away from you. But, I mean, shit, if you're on a big horse that can push one around a little bit, you know what you're doing, go help a guy.
It makes a big difference. I mean, every time I got a new – because this comes from me being about 2 months into the feedlot, just bringing I'd say he was a green broke. Little bit more than Greenbroke ranch horse, but he'd never seen a feedlot before. And it took me about 2 weeks to where I could service a gate on him, reliably.
Yeah.
But I had a guy that had a big old fucking brute of a horse that didn't give a shit about anything. And he'd just, if I was having trouble with the gate, he'd just push him right on up there. And that old horse was like, I guess that's what we're doing now. So,
yeah.
What's funny, because a couple of weeks ago, I gave my boy a little colt. I did some trading for about a year or so ago, and she's gentle enough where she won't really hurt him, but she's stingy enough and bred up enough where you kind of better sit in the middle of her and not just punch her in the guts with a rowel, because she never has really bucked, but she's one of them ones I'm not going to give her a chance. Well, my wife ain't much of a pickup horse. She's all 5'4" and 110 pounds soaking wet. And I was on the back side of the gate coming to the arena. And I told my boy, I said, "Now don't cut her in half. Just step on and ease her around." And I hear this, and I look up. And here comes that old chestnut rip, swallowed head just kicking out. And my boy, I've never been so proud. My boy's got a rein in each hand, just tapped off with the D's, chin down, looks like old Brett Franks on one. And I'm thinking, holy shit, yeah. He's headed right down the arena fence. I got all the rope and dummies, the four-wheeler sitting there, and I'm screaming like a wounded goat at my wife, "Get in front of him, get that sumbitch's head up." And part of me's wanting to yell at him, "Put the boots to her." Yeah. My wife got out in the middle of her and was, "Hey," got him shut down. And my boy went to giggling. I'm like, man, that's when you know you're a dad, when your old heart just falls right through your asshole, thinking, man, is my kid gonna clear this four-wheeler and might have a big old wreck,
like you're giddy as a schoolgirl, but you're still nervous as a nun in church,
Yeah.
But you're also you're screaming the old Dan Hartman line, "Put your dick under the saddle horn and ride that prick."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and he kind of got hurt here about a year ago riding some bareback ponies, and he kind of gave it quits. And then after that, he decided he wanted to get back on some bulls and some saddle bronc horses. And he's like, Dad, that was fun. Well, there you go, buddy. That built a little confidence in you, put a little sand in your craw.
Hell yeah. How old's your boy?
He's 12 now.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Rowdy's your boy. Hell
Yep.
yeah. I enjoy those posts. I just love the family posts where it's just cow hands bragging on their kids. Like I'm not quite, my kids ain't quite that old yet, but I'm going to. Don't worry.
You know, but I tell folks all the time, you know, he might not be the handiest kid. He's damn sure handy. I mean, my boy is really ropey.
I've seen him. Yeah, he's pretty goddamn handy.
And I've kept him and my daughter on the nicest horses I can make. You know, we don't buy horses here. We make everything that we ride. And I tell everybody it was just kind of by default.
Cowboy
you know,
string.
I can't afford no hired man. And you see me, you see my wife, kids. We do everything in the family. You know, and I ain't gonna sit here and blow smoke up your skirt. There's been days where he swallowed like a little girl and cried, and Dad, you're gonna kill me. And I always tell him, Dad ain't never gonna hurt you. Dad might put you in some tight spots, but we ain't never gonna kill you. You know, so it's you see me, you see all the kids.
It might hurt like a son of a bitch, but it'll feel better when it quits hurting.
Well, he was only like 7, 8 years old, the first bully drug in the trailer, and it was his eyes were wide, the tears were flowing, and I knew that old dun horse was gonna pull her guts out, but you couldn't tell him that. He thought the Jolly Green Giant was on the end of that rope gonna kill him.
But guess what? He got it done, huh?
Yeah. I mean, no hill for a high stepper.
Fucking A. Yeah, no step for a stepper, man. I love that shit. And one of the biggest reasons I decided to start this, or like one of the first directions I took this show when I started it was just I've heard all these stories from so many different cow hands, but if you don't cowboy for a living, you'll never hear these stories. Like Rowdy Man at 7 years old dragging a bull up into a trailer. Nobody hears that except you and your circle of friends. And I know you got a pretty good group of a following on Facebook. You've got a pretty good amount of friends. But outside of that, nobody knows it. And outside of the cowboy world, there's only a handful of people that knows who, like my dad, Wes McKinley is, or Boots O'Neill or Waddy Mitchell is.
Yep.
But the cool thing is I've got a lot of people that listen from the city that figure that they tune in to listen to Boots, or they tune in to listen to whatever it is my dad's fighting about, which by the way, my dad's my dad's a badass. I don't know if you guys have listened to those episodes, but like my dad don't give a fuck at all. Like he's like, if you're wrong, you're wrong. That's where my dad's at. He don't give a fuck. But outside of this show, not many people hear that, and I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but man, it's a pretty cool position to be in to put that out there, because I have a pretty, I guess I could say a global audience. I've got there's some people in India and Russia that listen, but I do have a national audience. I've got.
Well, and I'm sure Lucas would say the same thing now that he's showing horses. You know, I was just some real little kid. You know, I didn't know the world kind of existed. You get into that show, and it's a little different than cowboying. But you know, Lucas, I'm sure Lucas has got to meet people like I did that you'd never get to meet cowboying, working in a feedlot, riding colts, or doing that kind of stuff that are in the horse business, but have no fetching idea what goes into breeding horses on a ranch, or being on a ranch, or living pretty rural. And I can remember telling them folks some stories. They'd come on and watch their colt get rolled on a cow or get him started in the round pen, and I'd tell them, "Listen, how my granddad did it," because my granddad always had teams, and They'd look at me like I was speaking Greek and I was from the world's farthest galaxy you could get from them because they grew up in town. They had no clue.
Oh, yeah. And that's what it's amazing to me how many people are in the horse industry that are honestly ignorant about how much goes into a lot of it. I mean, and not from lack of intelligence, but just legitimately ignorant, and I don't mean that in an insulting way. They just haven't ever been around it enough to realize how much work goes in. And that's what I think. We had 94 colts hit the ground this year, or foals, and people just don't understand what kind of work goes into that. And
that's
it's a lot of work to get one on the ground. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work to get one on the ground, let alone 94.
Yeah. It's
but they just don't know, they think that they just go to a trainer and buy a horse and that's it. Especially your non-pros, because they're finished horses. They're buying finished horses. They're not going to buy a 2-year-old that Lucas has started and carried over to his 3-year-old year. They don't see all the backstory of that, and that translates directly into the ranching end of it. So I guess when I looked at it, it was kind of a way to educate a lot of those people that had no clue. It was a foreign concept to them of what we do and how we do it.
Yeah. So this might be a little bit of a personal question, Derek, but without going too deep into it, but like rough amount of customers you or I guess rough amount of horses you shoe a month.
Oh dear God, far too many. Literally far too many, because my service area is actually bigger than the state of North Dakota. So I travel from just east of Bismarck all the way from the Canadian line clear down to the South Dakota line. And then I go basically clear west over to Miles City, clear up to the Canadian line and all the way down to the Wyoming line. And then I get a handful of customers down in South Dakota. But after I got hurt last fall, when that broodmare cow killed me and busted me all up pretty bad, I kind of took the long, hard look and realized that I wasn't in. My brain was still telling me I was 22, 23, and my body went, absolutely not. You're in your 40s. So, I used to go down
and your non-existent health coverage said, fuck all of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got a customer, McGill Land and Livestock, down there out of Powderville, Montana. Great guys, great cow outfit, good ranchers, ride a lot of Wiley Woods, Driftwoods, straight Hancock, double bred Hancock stuff that some of them are a little Western. But, I'd go down there and I'd shoot 13 to 16 head a day by myself. I'd get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, wind up at putting my anvil back in my shoeing rig at 11:30 at night, and then drive 5 hours home. And after I got hurt, honestly, Matt, I cut my numbers in half. I used to do quite a bit more. Now, 5-6 full shoes a day, a handful of trims. I'm kind of on that backward slide on my career. I'm done proving to anybody I got something to do.
Yeah, but also you're kind of living the cowboy dream and running your own cows too. So I'm sure that plays a big part into it too.
Yeah, my wife and I talked about it because she works for an oil company up here and they treat her real good. And thank God, because she's got the health insurance, good benefits, company vehicle, and we bought my mom and dad's place, and so eventually I'd like to not have to shoe full time here in a couple of years. I'm hoping to have a very small, select few customers. And I hate to say that, let some of my ranching customers go in some of my backyard and just really focus on, because my specialty is more the cow horse market. That's been my customer base with my shoeing most of my years, and like to spend a little more time here at the ranch with the boy and my daughter and rope and choke shit. And hate to say it too, but run my hand equipment. Up here you can't just be a cowboy, you got to be a grass farmer up here.
Well, and at the same time, like the Cowboy Dream, since the very get-go, as far as I can tell, is every good cowboy wants to have their own place. run their own cows. And so you're doing that, and that's awesome. I mean, that's kind of what we're all after. So like you're doing it through shoeing. I'm trying to do it through podcasting. And I like, honestly, that's my big goal is like, I hope I can make enough money to where I can cowboy for a hobby, you know, and just go do it because I want to.
And it's funny you say that, Matt, because I've had so many people ask me and beg me, and I guess I'm kind of backwards, to get on YouTube and start marketing kind of my brand, if you will. You know, my whole deal started out with just me and some buddies of mine that, you know, horse trainers, farriers, just making videos back and forth. And then it just kind of exploded from there. I didn't realize a guy could really make money doing that. And I guess maybe I should be delving deeper into that and exploring that more. But, you know, it's for as much as the stupid videos I put on Facebook and make everybody laugh, we're a pretty private family. You know, it's, and especially ranching, you know, I try to tell that to a lot of guys that want to buy their own place. You got to be a jack of all trades, you know, and I try to show that, I guess, through a lot of my posts on social media that I got to be a welder. You know, that's what I went to college to be, was a welder. You know, you got to be a carpenter, an electrician, a plumber. You got to know how to build a good fence, and a mechanic. And, you know, it's not just, especially a little outfit like ours. Me being horseback in my cows is actually a very minute part of that. You know, when you're a kid,
you're probably costing yourself money being a horseback.
Yeah, well, and we're kind of backwards. We don't have a Polaris Ranger, none of that. We got one 4-wheeler on the place, and it's has been broke down for 6 months. We just use it to pull the rope and dummy in the arena to train colts or let the kids rope. But our philosophy is, you know, we try to sell good finished horses and peddle a few colts. But if we're not riding them horses, we're not making money. You know, so exactly. We don't, you know, we say it, our motto here is get tough or die trying, and you better be pretty handy with a rope, because a lot of times we don't have access to corrals, you know, on leased pastures, etc. Everything's done horseback and with a rope. So,
well, that's the thing is, like, I mean, like we said, like the goal since there was the first cowboy back to the old Spaniards, the goal is to run your own cattle and run them the same, or, you know, run them how you want to. And that's always, you can always run them better than your boss, but can you run them more efficiently and more effectively and more profitably? That's a different deal.
And that's where we try, you know, I kind of clash, and it's got my butt in hot water a few times, because I call these guys up here pig farmers or wheat farmers. And you know, there's a lot of farmers that are good cowmen, but they're not cowboys. Yeah. But I've cowboyed so many different places in so many different states that I tried to take something from in college at Dinklage Feeders to working for Doc Novi, for working for Jimmy, for, you know, all the bigger ranches. I wanted to take what I saw on how they handled cattle, their facilities. So when I set my place up, we just got done building a whole new set of corrals this winter. I tried to take a little bit of something of that, and I just tell guys, if you want to come help me at my place, we don't work cows afoot. You're either horseback or you're out of the corrals. And that's just how we operate, you know, and I mainly do that for my kids, because I don't want my kids in there. I got some trader cows and some short-term cows that'll probably eat them. I want my kids to stay horseback. They're safe. So we just do it a little different, you know, which I'm sure if I went down to Lucas's place, you know, down there in Missouri or Kansas, you guys would do it different than I do it.
Oh yeah. And that's
same thing. I just love a guy trying to make a living, you know.
It's a lot of
like I don't know what kind of cattle you got, but like if you're trying to make an honest living, I don't give a shit. Let's do it. Let's do it, you know.
Yep.
But that's what people around here are just amazed that anybody actually works cattle off horseback. Seems like some, you know, there's actually, I say that a lot, that it's a bunch of pig farmers around. There's some really good hands in the Missouri, Iowa area, but there's just not a lot of them.
Yep.
It's not very common.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And we're lucky enough where we live here in Northwest North Dakota. You know, we're in cow country. You know, we live in the Missouri River Breaks and the Badlands, and we're right, you know, we're 30 miles from Montana, and we're always over in eastern Montana. So there's a lot of good handy guys here. there's a lot of hybrid type of guys. You see a lot of slick forks with rubber up here with short ropes, and you see some Will James and some modified Asosas with little bitty dally horns with cotton on it or mule hide packing 45 to 60 foot. And I just tell everybody I tried to learn as much as I could from all the outfits I worked for, so that the day that was presented to me to have my own place and build my own place, I could do it how I wanted it. And you hit the nail on the head, Matt. When you're running somebody else's cows, it's easy when your ass ain't on the line and your dick ain't, your dick ain't on the chopping block. Mine is every day. I got to make the right decisions to remain profitable.
Well, that's the thing is like, I was on the Lions of Liberty podcast here the other day, and there's like, you got a boss? And I was like, oh, fuck, every cowboy's got a boss.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for a boss, man, there wouldn't be any cowboys,
Yep.
But like the ultimate cowboy dream is to go do something of your own, and you're doing that. So that's fucking rad, man. So I like, even if you're doing a shitty job, I'll support you all the way, because as long as a cowhand is trying to make his own way in the world, that is Cowboy Dream 101. Yep. And let's support every one of those motherfuckers.
Yeah. And I tell everybody, because it's funny that this whole social media deal is kind of blowing up the last couple of years. I get guys from East Coast, West Coast, Canadian border, Mexican border asking me how I do stuff. And, that's kind of why I put them videos out to show guys, this is how I build a winterized tire tank. And I love poking fun at Texicans. I can't help it. I got a needle on them.
You gotta. But I grew up 60 miles north of Texas, but I'll make fun of Texans all fucking day.
Yeah, and I learned stuff from my buddies down there. I actually worked for Bobby Lewis down there in Overbrook, Oklahoma for a winter riding cutters and ropers. But yeah, I try to show them guys, because I tell them, I've seen what you guys do. I've seen Lucas's country. I've seen where you're at, Matt. A lot of guys ain't seen it this far north unless it's my buddies from up north of me up in Canada.
Yeah, I've never seen the Dakotas at all, but I'd love to.
It's a dry, dirty, dry sumbitch this year. It's bad.
Yeah, that's like Eastern Colorado. It's a dirty, dry, sorry motherfucker. Nobody should live there, but you know what? We keep on going, don't we?
Well, I'd send you boys some rain if I could, because I could use a canoe in my arena just as well as
well, you motherfucker, try harder. God damn it.
If I could send it to you, I would.
That's kind of like the goofy customers that want you to come shoe in a foot and a half of pig shit, and there's trails that are made out of baling twine and hot wire. And you're like, I can't even pick a foot up. And you want me to shoe this sumbitch? Yeah, nope, I'm going home.
Yeah, I don't even have a good snubbing post to 4-foot this motherfucker.
That's what I was gonna say. They're just tie that thing to that random T-post that's stuck out in the middle of the yard.
Which, by the way, like, Boots had to go to fucking Korea before he figured out what a steel post was. How fucking wild is that?
Yeah.
But anyway, like we're gonna talk about horse Karens. I guess I've kind of coined that term here lately, but I love the horse Karens. Like, I hate them, but I love telling stories about them.
Lord, I could write a book.
My favorite one. Let me pull it up, because it was just a couple days or a couple hours ago. To tell you the truth. All right, so we all know how all these major companies go super gay for the pride stuff. So I decided to go along with that. Just I thought, what can I get away with? Like, I gave a fake Ellen DeGeneres quote, and said, all the lesbos love us. And I did not get fact checked, so I'm just going to keep going. But my favorite troll of this whole deal is
this about your gay mayor?
Yeah, it was. I call her Red Molly. My what is she? My 6-year-old daughter called her Rainbow Dash 2 years ago. So Yeah, I said she identifies as a giraffe because her head is about right here all the time. And this old boy, he said, "Shut up, your horse ain't gay." And I said, "Don't dismiss her lived experience, bigot. It's disgusting how gay this horse is." And he said, "A horse isn't gay, dude. Jesus made us all straight. See, that's where animals are smarter than humans. They know that two penis or two vagina don't go together." And I said, "Well, two vaginas don't go together, but I sure do like watching the old college try. I mean, give her hell, girls. I'll watch that all day long."
And
That's when you need to.
I'm not ever. How should I say this? I'm not necessarily a fan of all the. Well, leave the gays alone, but whatever. But as far as his comment goes about horses and animals knowing better than two penises and two vaginas, I've seen plenty of studs jump a gelding before.
Yeah, I've seen so many bowlers in my lifetime.
Yeah, the bowlers too. Yeah,
Sweet ass bulls in the feedlot.
Of all stands you could take, why that one? I don't understand that, but whatever. I don't care. I don't care. What's Derek, you're kind of known for your horse Karen videos. What is your favorite horse Karen story?
Oh boy, where do I start? I've kind of weeded them all. I mean, I get probably 10 or 15 calls a day from new customers, and boy, you guys would not believe some of the conversations I have to have. You would not believe it, but
let's hear one that you actually interacted with that you thought was going to be a good client.
And I'll leave names out because I might get shot over this deal.
Oh, yeah, we'll do that. Don't worry about that.
Must be a neighbor.
Yeah. Well, so the one that I did the Karen video on, I've got a couple customers that are like diehard Buck Brannaman, Dorrance Brothers, Newberts, Jim Walters, and I respect all those guys. I'm not bagging on them.
Yeah,
but,
obviously they're great.
We
guys.
gotta love them and kiss on them, and I knew going into this deal, this gal had a lot of money, so I was like, and she had a pile of horses. And I'm not a proponent of beating on a horse. I'm just one of those guys. Yeah, tip of my boot and the tip of their dick is probably the best medicine in the world. I hate beating on them with a set of nippers and this and that. But I show up to her place and everything's immaculately groomed, and drove about 3.5 hours to get
red
there.
Flag number one there, Derek.
Yeah, red flag, big time. And she brings out this great big old kind of foundation bred gelding and snaps him in the cross ties, and this sunbuck is just weaving like an old snake. And I'm thinking, boy, this is gonna be real interesting. And she says, "Now I'm going to tell you, I fired the last fire for kicking him in the belly." And I thought, Jesus Christ, I should just roll up, spool up, and go home because Derek Mott ain't going to put up with this too good. So I kind of honeyed by that first front foot, and he kept just. I think if I remember right, I got him all trimmed, got him leveled up, got a shoe right there, and I'd go to nail a nail up in that sumbitch of jerky's leg, and I've got a big aversion to having a nail ripped through my leg. I don't like seeing my red stuff leaking.
No.
But the fourth time he did that, I just out of reactionary habit, I reached up with my driving hammer, slapped him right in the belly button, and hollered, "Stand, you son of a bitch!" Boy, she come boiling out of a box stall about 4 or 5 stalls down the barn. I mean, like right now. Proceeded, and I'm just standing there. I got like 2.5 nails in his foot, and he's trying to jerk it between my legs, and she's screaming and hollering. And we don't do that. You got to get to them through their mind. And I said, "Well, evidently you've been mind fucking him because he don't know how to stand here on 3 legs." And she looked at me with her old slack jaw, and she kind of gave me the old fat lady look. And I said, "I can either finish nailing him up or I can go home." She says, "Well, let's just try one more foot." And I said, "Here's the rule, lady. They kick me, they bite me, they strike me, it's $100 bill. They kick me, they bite me, they strike me twice, it's another $100 bill, plus the whole cost of your barn for the day up front. I don't finish, I go home." And she says, "Well, we'll have to discuss that." I said, "No, that's my rates. This is how we're going to do it." So I snuck around the other side, got that left front tacked on, snuck around the other side, and I didn't get 3 licks with my knife, and that son bitch jerked his leg from me, and it laid my hand wide open. Yeah, I cussed. I threw an elbow to his jaw, tip of my boot to his dick, and I looked at her and I said, "You can go fuck yourself. I'm going home." And boy, she was right hot on my heels, going, "Don't leave, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave."
Yeah.
I knew she'd run off about every farrier in the book. And then like 2 weeks later, evidently I must not have pissed her off bad enough because one of her friends called me up and said, "Hey, I heard you do a pretty good job on these horses." "Well, who'd you hear that from?" She says, "So-and-so." And I'm thinking, oh shit. I said, "Here's the deal. If I get back down there in another couple of weeks, I'll swing by." And I never did call her back. I knew better than to go to that barn.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've had gals that if the gal ever watches this video, she'll know exactly who I'm talking about. She's about 5 foot or 4'11" and about 4'11" round. Thinks she's about half man, thinks she's God's gift to horses, and
just sexy as can be.
oh, let me tell you, just like a Corvette. Her and I went round and round, and she actually called me up a couple summers ago. Told me I had to be there at 7:30 at night. Of course, she lives across over in Montana, so that's 8:30 my time. She's got 11 rescues to do and 2 ranch horses and blah blah blah.
Rescues.
I don't.
Nobody knows how to stand at all.
No, and I tell her, I don't schedule a stop past 4:00 in the afternoon ever. I just don't.
Yeah.
So we dick around for like a month and a half, and I finally get over. And I mean, these some bitches are crowbait thin, won't hardly. I mean, the one old paint horse, I couldn't even get his foot off the ground. Some bitch tried to lay over and die on me. He must have been 40. I mean, I bet you Moses rode that some bitch in the desert.
that horse split there. He parted the Red Sea.
Oh God! And she just kept hounding on me on how I was handling them. And, "Oh, you're lifting them feet too high." And I'm only 5'9". I'm a pretty short guy, and I crawl way up under one. And she had an old
you got a 6'2" mustache though.
Yep. And this old Cremello son bitch, I went to pull a hind foot on him. I just pulled it straight back, stuck it on my foot jack, and that son bitch laid down on me. So I just stepped back, kind of nudged him in the side of the guts there. I didn't kick him. I just kind of nudged him. I'm like, "Hey, buddy, you gonna die on me or what here?" Yeah, she didn't take too kindly to that either, but got him up. She's like, "You got to be gentle with him. He's old." And I said, "Well, why don't we just shoot him?" Yeah, you don't need to say that to customers either. But the video that I made about handing my customer my nippers, she's the one. And yeah, she got watered up, stuffed up underneath the elevator auger on a hopper bin, and that paint coat about tore her pickup apart. I mean, that's one of the times in my life I wish I'd had a GoPro on me. Watching that little round ass. I mean, she got mauled like a German Shepherd on a squeaky toy. It was awesome.
I'm working on we're trying to design a horn cap just so you can put a GoPro on there.
That would be cool.
I put one of those adhesives, like the sticky mounts on my saddle horn the other day, and it didn't hold, but yeah. I think if you put an actual mount on there, like mount it as a horn cap, I think you got something there.
Well, you could also do so. Like when I worked for Benny Gatrone and Donnie, we had what we called Christmas trees, little pieces of. Lucas might know what I'm talking about. Just like 532 welding rod that comes up and got rings on them, so we can tie horses up. And she's got a piece of a leather that you just strap around the base of your horn, and then it sticks up a foot above your saddle horn. I bet you if you did that, just put a little steel plate on top with a spotting scope mount, I bet you could mount a GoPro to that.
Yeah. Maybe.
Just
we can. Yeah, just dial it a little higher.
Yeah.
That's
just tie on like one of them damn Texans.
I broke my screen the other day, but luckily I joined that GoPro Plus or whatever, so I can send it back. But I did get a picture of the video, or like a glimpse of the video, and I just reached out there with like 3 coils, and as soon as I let go of and I tried 3 different loops, it stayed on no problem, but the one loop that I caught, all you see is me riding off in the distance. That's it. The camera fell off to the side, and then it landed, and you just see me just riding off.
Well, I've tried to make some videos of shoeing.
like a Warner Brawl, but they make those chest mount GoPro deals.
Yeah, I've got one of those, and you know what? In the summer, it looks like I wear a sports bra because my like the suntan. I mean, like my tits imagine. Are as wide as can be. I guarantee you that.
Well, I'm always nervous trying to make videos shoeing. You know, most of my horses I've whittled them down. I got pretty good string of horses on my books, but I'm always nervous. You know, brand new iPhone's $1,000. Put that on my shoeing buggy. Have a come apart, and next thing I know, I got a Kirk Hart shoe going right through the screen of a $1,000 phone. So and it's kind of hard to video because there's some things I'd like to show people that some of the customers and the bullshit that farriers deal with.
Yeah,
that it's hard to get a camera angle on.
Well, that, and it's not. You know, you have your people that just like, oh, whatever, you know, you can't beat on a horse, you can't lay him down, whatever, you know, just
I shoe my own horses here the ones that need shot, I shoe them, and hell, I just take my phone out and leave it sitting over on the side before way out of reach and I'm just buying like 3 generation old phones for $100-$200 off eBay or Amazon because I'm not buying $1,000 phone, and I still don't want it getting torn up, much less leaving it sitting on the cart while I'm trying to get one shod. I
should have posted a video this spring early for another rancher down there on the South Dakota line. I had it sitting I wasn't hot shoeing that day. I was cold banging and hanging on that set of horses, and I had it set on my forge so it kind of looks out and down out of the shoeing trailer. And yeah, I deleted that video pretty quick because old Derek got wadded up, stuffed up underneath the shoeing trailer pretty quick. That wasn't a video I wanted anybody to see. That one was pretty rank.
Yeah. I'm
well, I had my old apron had a hole in the thigh where I just kind of rubbed through with my shoeing rasp, and I'm pretty careful about making sure my aprons are in good shape, just because if they ever hook a heel on a shoe or a nail or something. And I had that shoe about 9/10 nailed up, and that colt jerked back. I think one of the ranch hands come by with one of his dogs or on the feed truck or something, just kind of spooked that colt. And he sucked back, stuck that foot forward, it hooked that hole in my apron just right. And when he pulled that foot back after he stomped on me, yeah, it was like Derek got shot out like Wile E. Coyote out of the old Acme slingshot, dude. It was like stunk right underneath my trailer. It was not cool. But I could show people some stuff that they'd probably piss their pants on, and I'd probably go to jail over.
Yeah, you probably could.
That's the worst thing about farrier work is there's 1,000 different ways a person can find a way to bleed.
And I have a massive aversion to seeing any blood on these things or any part of my body. Or one of them bastards, you go to seat your nails when you're seating your nails, and that son bitch jerks, and you take a 9-ounce driving hammer right to the kneecap. That's when the deal I posted on Facebook today about Thor is a hero for throwing his hammer. I have anger management problems when I throw mine.
Yeah. Mine is anger something when I'm throwing it.
Yeah.
Shit. I think it was last week. I think it was. I'm just sitting here looking at it because we're talking about cutting ourselves. I was pulling the shoe off, and I rasped my clinches off, and I started pulling that shoe off, and for some reason reached down on the hoof, and where that nail was starting to peel out there, that bastard just jerked a little bit. Hell, I cut myself taking a shoe off, not driving a nail in, taking a shoe off. I got cut. It's like, son of a bitch. You just can't win.
And I don't wring my nails off. I drive them up and I bend them down flush to the shoe. And I learned that years ago. If you wring them nails off, especially like a lot of ranchers want 8 nails in a shoe, most time I run just 6, but that's 8 little steak knives that, can tear your hands up. And got a good old breakaway horse for a really good set of customers. And the parents were gone, and the high school girl was there with me. And I grabbed his foot, stuck it out on my foot jack, and for someone, I mean, even it's always the old broke horses that get you. It's never the young colts because you're, your guard's up. And
yeah,
that little gal said something to me, and I just had my hand, and I kind of looked, and that old buckskin horse just did one of them with that foot and stuck that rung off 6 combo city head right through the middle knuckle on my ring finger. And he was up off my foot jack, and he's wanting to stretch and put that weight down on that foot. And I'm screaming at her, get a hold of him, get a hold of him. And he's got me bent over, and I'm losing ground. And I knew I was hung to him pretty hard.
Yeah.
And she didn't know what was going on. And I'm screaming at her, get a hold of him, get a hold of him. And I tell you what, you find out how much sand you got in your belly when you can bend a nail backwards with your finger when you want out of a situation pretty bad, pretty fast.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, that old finger swelled up about like that. I still had like 4 head of horses, the full shoe that day, and hot shoe with sliders. Yeah, it was a long freaking day. It was a long day.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Just imagining that makes my asshole pucker. Oh, I hate those situations.
Yeah. All right, Lucas, you're a horse trainer extraordinaire. What's your best horse carrying story?
You're reaching there with the extraordinary thing, but
well, you know what? Hey, it's my show. I'll explain. I'll lie how I want to. All right.
Oh, let's God, kind of like where the hell do I start? But one of them that comes to mind pretty often is I had this lady that was pretty close to home when I was younger. It's probably been 7 or 8 years ago. But this horse was like a giraffe. It'd give you a damn nosebleed every time you touched its face. Like pick up your reins, the damn thing would try to give you a nosebleed. And she was just trail riding with it and that sort of thing. Typical horse carrying lady, I guess. And so she asked me if I could help her out with it and get it fixed or something. Well, she was standing there whenever she dropped it off, and she wanted to watch what I was doing the first time, messing with it. And Derek can probably attest to this, that, if you pick up on one's face, they need to soften their body and come back to it. It's not them necessarily giving to the bit with their face. It needs to happen in their rib cage and their spine where they soften up at. And this one thing an old trainer told me a long time ago was, you've got to get them good left and right before you can get coming back. You can't. But anyway, so I just put a snaffle bit in this old horse and tied its head around through the back D of the saddle to the saddle horn and let that thing just fight with it. And this is just normal for me fixing these problems. But that lady had to come apart because, like, how these horses are, that when you pick up their hand and they start rearing and fighting with it, they're used to getting away because people just give it right back to them because they're scared they're going to flip over. Hell, this horse flipped over like 3 times in about 45 seconds and got back up every time, just throwing a goddamn fit. And this lady was throwing a bigger fit than this horse was. And it had rolled over backwards about 3. God, I got cussed so many times.
I'm sure it was
within
a very
about 3 minutes,
horse
she cussed
too.
me up one side and down the other. And I said, well, take it home then. Keep on fighting with what you're fighting with.
Fuck yeah.
She kind of decided that, well, and, about the time she got done cussing me, this horse was actually softening up and giving its rib cage and its back a little bit to the side with its head tied around. And then I tied it around the other way, and it fought for 5 or 10 seconds. After that, she was like, wow, I've never seen it give its head like that before, or something to that effect.
Oh yeah.
The whole lovey-dovey horsey lifestyle, it just ain't always roses and unicorns.
No, not at all. Like at some point, like if the horse is an asshole, it's an asshole, and you got to treat him like an asshole. And when you do, it might help him. Like he might get over it and be like.
And I'm like, Derek, I'm not for beating on a horse by any means, but goddamn, they're a 1,200-pound animal that needs to learn some respect.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's getting the respect that most people don't. That's what these horse carriers don't get, is the respect from the horse.
Yeah, and they're just like, oh, why didn't you do Clinton Anderson method on this horse the whole time? Well, because you couldn't catch the motherfucker for 3 weeks. That's why. That's why.
It's
Well,
funny
I'll
you
give-
say that. When I was working on the West Coast, I was riding for a guy, and we rode a lot of reiners and straight cutters, and quite a few cow horses too. But a customers and she's not a Karen, she's a Susan, which is 10 levels above a fucking Karen.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
10 levels above a
Yeah,
Karen.
I know it's
Yeah.
Susan. Yeah.
Keep on stepping.
They had a real late, I think he was a coming 3-year-old, own son of New Checks to Cash, looked just like New Checks to Cash, big old pretty yellow stud
Yeah.
colt, big old
Like
black
the
bend
kind
horse.
you want.
Yeah. We had to take a saddle horse over there and rope him in a 3-acre pasture just to get a halter on him. And this old fat gal had been feeding him horsey treats all the time. So this son bitch was a mouthy prick.
Oh yeah.
It took us all day to get one horse in the trailer, like 9 miles from the ranch. Get him home, and we stuck him in the arena just to let him run a little bit before we stuck him in a box stall. I'd take saddle horse out there and rope him again just to get him caught up. Well, we stuck him in.
Yeah.
I put, I don't know, 30 days on him. This sonbuck was a bad biting prick, and he was real bad, real light in his front end, like to reach out and put a front foot in your shirt pocket and touch you with it. And I'd had enough, so I throwed a set of hobbles on him, stuck him in the round pen. He throwed a wild horse fit and ended up, and they were just panels, and we did that on purpose. They never get hung up and get hurt, but
Yeah.
he ended up like doing the old home base slide underneath the goddamn panels. Well, hell, I just left him there. Like, you got yourself in that pickle.
What do
You
you
can
think
get
about
yourself.
Yeah. Go figure it out.
Temecula, California, in late April, it's already 9,500 degrees on that sand, and I'm like, good. I went and got another colt, rode him around the arena, and come back like 45 minutes later. This sonbuck is just drenched white and sweat and just mad.
Yeah.
Well, I go down there to let him up. The owners show up at the ranch. No, you try to explain that to some little pissed off millionaire fat lady that why her little precious stud colt's down there just frothing white covered in riverbed sand, and his front feet are locked together with a set of harness leather hobbles stuck to the panel. And you're like, yeah, he had to come apart. We're teaching him the good book. He's reading from the good book right now.
He is a good Christian now.
Oh, you talk about, I ain't never been tongue lashed like that from a little fat lady in my life. Oh my God, she read me the riot act. And then Lucas will like this one. So I was working on that same outfit, and the gal that used to own the Chicago Cubs, she was an older lady, was big into Arabs. Well, her trainer that lived up just north of us above the San Marcos Pass was big into breeding them Arabs to Hollywood Done It. And I don't know, for most folks, I'm not a Hollywood Done It fan. I think they're batshit crazy. Yeah. But you breed that to an Arab, now you really got batshit crazy.
Oh yeah.
So they sent me a little bay mare and a little deep dark chestnut stud colt. Both of them are 3-year-olds. And a lot of them Arab folks don't start until they're 3. Well, we called the little stud old Ahab the Arab. He was pretty cool. We got him where he could work a cow, but that filly, she'd ride good for 2 days, and then for a week she'd just be flaming in heat, wanting to tear you apart. I mean, I tried everything to get through to this little mare. Well, the lady that owned the Cubs, her trainer would come down, and his wife, they'd show up in a motorhome with a little 3-horse slant bumper pulling one and watch me ride these colts, because he wasn't man enough to start these colts for that old gal. Well, this went on for like 30 days. They'd come down once, twice a week and watch me ride these colts. And I think it was like halfway through the second 30 days, we got done with that little filly. She had a fairly good day. Walked her up in that barn, stuck her in the wash rack, clipped her in the cross ties, and that gal come up and give me the old proposition to go to the motorhome with her. What the hell do you say to that? I mean, I was 22, 23 years old, and here I got some middle-aged 40-year-old woman proposition me up to take something off the training bill on this filly if I want to go to the motorhome with her. And the guy I was working for, he's like, hell, go for it, like shoving me at the motorhome. And I'm like, hell no, I ain't going in that motorhome. Then we're back in the good old days when I was single.
Yeah. When you're single, I was gonna say I'm looking at some gal was not a fan of what you said earlier. Let's just say She actually might be on. The kids today don't learn risk assessment because their parents don't let them get bumps and bruises needed to do so. So hey, you're correct.
She got mad at me because I'm letting my kid be a cowboy.
No. She's actually agreeing with you. So yeah. Hats off to you, Alex. Hey, you're 100% correct. I thought she would have had something to.
She wasn't being a Karen.
No. She's
but
probably
she also,
out there.
She's also got a profile picture about like
at least Matt can see all the comments. We can't.
Yeah, I can't see anything.
That's probably a good thing because I'd be typing some pretty shitty responses.
Yeah, so this is one of her profile pictures. So this is why I thought she was talking shit, but she was not. She was on our side.
Hell, maybe Lucas, I should start another Oxbow incident.
Yeah.
Boy, that one went pretty deep for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, she's got something here. Yeah. I don't care if you got your vaccine. All right, perfect. All right, we like this chick. I think.
I haven't looked twice at a pair of Oxbows since.
No, Derek, have you how many Karens do you come across on your daily path, you think?
Not as many as you'd think, just because I've gotten so selective on my shoeing clientele. It sounds very arrogant, but I know that up here in my country, I'm not the world's greatest farrier by any means. Never claimed to be, but there's a real shortage of guys out there shoeing for a living. So with that, I get to be real picky. When we first moved home up here, I run into a lot of them. I mean, and I still, now that my kid's in junior high rodeo, oh dude. It's a good thing Derek don't carry a Louisville Slugger around, because I'd be taking a lot of kneecaps out on a lot of fat ladies that just, God, they drive me batshit.
Oh, I bet. How long ago did you move home?
We moved back home up here in 2010.
Okay, so you've been there a little bit then.
Yep.
Yeah, but
And
they still don't recognize the good cowhands.
No, and because of the oil boom up here, we've got so many people from Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Texas, New Mexico.
Makes sense.
It's not as many homozygous folks that were kind of up here when I was a little kid.
Well, but they're not cowhands. They're up there to make a buck.
And a lot of them, making that oil field money, bought little 5-acre ranchettes or built a little place for 3 acres and starved horses to death. And those are the Karens and the Susans that I run into most often.
Yeah.
They just they're like Luke, you said, I call people ignorant all the time, and I tell them that's not fighting words, and I'm not making fun of you. Look up the term ignorant in the dictionary.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know.
Just don't know.
And I run into it on a daily basis. I get a call. Well, my horse is lame. I show up. Some buck's got, as bad a case of founder as you can see in 10 years. And they're like, well, what do we do? I said, we'll take him off that full choice, dairy quality brown bale over there that he's got his head stuffed in. Yes. It's tough when you put a guy in the spot to think all the Karen stories, because boy, I could write a book on them. I mean, it's
well, that's what we're hoping, Derek. One of these days, you're gonna write a book on the Burning Daylight Network. Talking about horse Karens.
And I was just up at a customer's place 2 days ago, and good customers. And me and her we joke every time up there. She's like me, a little lewd and crude. doesn't mind speaking her mind. Yeah, that's where I got that's where I got the term Susan from, because her gray horse we called Susan, and she was a cunt. Straight up, no doubt about it. I mean, dirty, rotten, and we joke that Susan hit the meat packing plant because I don't have to shoe her anymore. But it's amazing how you and I or Lucas or most guys that things are small and inconsequential that turn into a downright dogfight with some of these customers.
Yeah, right.
You know, like when I made that video, one of my customers' name is Karen, and she actually commented on it. She's one of my best customers. Got some really nice cow horses, but the term, and I just kind of it just hit me, you know, the 9-year-old snaffle bit shitter, and my God, the hate mail that I get over some of that stuff, Matt.
Oh, it's fucking ridiculous, ain't it?
Every team pinner in the world that watched that video probably hates you for the rest of their life.
Yeah. And barrel racers. So
I mean, I hate to be rude or hateful about it, but man, those team pinners are riding 20-year-old horses around in a snaffle bit.
And they're wondering why you don't have one
to their knee, and that horse is still going the opposite direction, running through his shoulder so bad they can't even see straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you got to have one of them horses.
Yeah, I giggle because how do you tell people that they're completely wrong?
Yeah.
You know,
well, you can't do it without pissing them all the way the fuck off anymore, and that's the bad thing.
And I tell
you can't just have a cow hand be like, no, you're.
You know, I
that's
don't
all
care.
It took is say Booth. No, you're not doing it the right way, and the cow hand would adjust. But now, no, they just get pissed off, and if you're not giving them the Karen treatment, then people don't want your horses.
Well, it was funny because I put that video up, suck it, and I actually had some parents up here say, no, we flat refuse to use him. And my other customer's like, he's the best guy we got in like the tri-state area if you want your horses to work.
Yeah.
And then some other ones will be like, well, we would come to you and we've heard nothing but, you know, because I bet you 65-70% of my books up here through the summer is barrel racers, because we get a lot of snowbirds back and forth. And I poke fun at rocket donkey jockeys all the time. And my wife runs barrels, and I have nothing against them. It's just they're barrel racers, and
they're stupid.
Team
horses.
ropers are the easiest two groups of people in the world to pick on. And I've had people tell me, we would have you shoe for us if you'd quit making fun of barrel racers. And I'm like, no, not going to happen. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you hate me as a person. If you're happy with the job that I'm doing for you on your horses and you're happy with how your horse performs, I don't give two shits if you like me as a person. I don't.
Yeah. Fuck
Adios,
all that.
Vamonos.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to make fun of you now.
Yeah.
You know?
Have me back if you like me. And if not, I don't give a shit.
The whole problem with the horse Karen's thing is, you know, like us three guys here, we kind of are able to separate ourselves from horse behavior versus horse emotions and that sort of thing. And, hey, cut the emotion out. Hey, this shit's got to be fixed. But that's why horse Karens get so infuriated, is because they're just wrapped up in the emotion and the romance of a horse.
It's their baby.
That's why so many of us, you know, as cowboys that are hands and want to be cowboys, whatever, you know, list goes on, but we still have a certain amount of romance for the horse. You know, we love using the horse and working with the horse, but we're able to separate ourselves enough where, hey, there's a level of respect that has to be maintained between.
Well, yeah, if that horse is going to be a prick, I'm going to 4-foot him and yank him down, because I got to get on him, and I want him to know that, like, hey, let's calm that shit down.
Yeah,
well, I think it's funny.
You're a prick to them. If they want to play nice, then you play nice.
Exactly. Like if they want to act like a pig, we'll treat them like a pig, right?
Yeah.
Well, I tell all my customers I use the old Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse line. be nice till it's time not to be nice. And they look at me and I say, you know, my job's tack iron on, not to train your horse. My job is to do X, Y, and Z. But if he bites me, I guarantee you that set of 14-inch racetrack GEs is going across the fat of his jaw. If he stomps on me, if he kicks at me, I'm gonna dick kick him as hard as I can dick kick him. And but then the exact opposite end of that spectrum is I had a customer a couple years ago call up and beg for me to come shoe for him. Didn't really have time, made time for him. Would have been a good account. Got up there, horse's feet were shit, couldn't hardly keep shoes nailed on. And she is the definition of the word Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 5 weeks and like 4 days goes by, her rocket donkey pitches a shoe. Told her I'll get to you in 3 days on your scheduled stop. Can't get to you till now. She went around and badmouthed, and I tell everybody, you can badmouth me all you want. The minute you start badmouthing my company, now that's legal slander. Yeah. I actually talked to my attorney over that deal. I said, if she wants to act like that big of a bitch as a Karen, then we're going to escalate it too. I said, I ain't looking for money or nothing that, but you know what that little fat girl needs? A public apology to me. That will hurt her more than hit her in the pocketbook because she has to admit that she's wrong.
Yeah.
Because if I offend you or Lucas, let's go. If we can't settle this with words, we're gonna go step out behind my trailer and gravel wrestle.
Well, we'll figure it out. Probably I'm gonna get my ass kicked, but you know what? Fucking A, you're gonna feel it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Somehow. No.
Yeah. I'll get my ass kicked. I got no problem with that, but you're gonna feel it when I do.
Yep.
So
watch it, boys. My dog don't fight fair.
Yeah, exactly. But when it's all said and done, like we're done with it. Let's move on with life. Like that's
my whole deal with the horse Karens and the Susans and all these folks is they don't tolerate a guy like me that speaks my mind, and I'm pretty blunt and I'm pretty brutally honest and I'm black or white. I don't beat around the bush. If I got something to say, I'm going to tell you, right, wrong, or indifferent, like me, love me, or lump me. I spoke my piece, and they can't handle that. And that's, I guess, like I said, to circle way back, that's how it started with my videos with my buddies, is we were just poking fun at these horsey ladies, and that's 99% of it is the horsey ladies that create their own problems. And you have to find the humor in it somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And that's kind of the way with mine. Like I don't shoot horses, but I cowboy for a living. And I've been around just about every cowboy outfit around. And when it all boils down to it, it's like, fuck you. Pay me, it's basically like just you're our employees, and that's fine. I understand that, but when a guy steps off to the side, especially when it's one of your good cow hands, rather than shutting them down, maybe listen to what they're saying. I mean that would help. That would help a bunch.
And I try to have those conversations with potential customers when I get those phone calls. My wife always tells me I'm borderline pretty rude to them on the phone. I've got a checklist, kind of a pre-fight list. I ask them what, how, what, where, when, and why about horses. And, if Lucas calls me up and says, hey, Derek, I need some horses shod. Well, I got a bunch of unstarted 3-year-olds that ain't halter broke. Come on, you're a cowboy. No, find somebody else, because I ain't fucking playing with that shit.
No, they're 5-year-olds, Derek. No, they're unstarted 5-year-olds.
Or they tell me we went to the last 5 farriers. Well, that sends up red flags. And a guy, I guess how I deal with it is I got to deal with it through humor, because if I didn't, I'd probably smack every horse between the ears and lose every customer I had.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And that's
we're in a tough situation here especially in the beef community. Like we produce more beef than anybody ever could want. And we still have people trying to shut us down. It fucking boggles my mind.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating. Like what the fuck are we supposed to do? Like what do these people want out of us?
The most
like
frustrating
that's
part,
I'd like to know that.
the most frustrating part is 95% of the country doesn't want to live on fucking kale, but
Yeah.
they want to rant and rave about how livestock's being raised in a location and a scenario and situation that they are 110% unfamiliar with.
Yeah, and
They've
there's
never
like
experienced any
there's
of it.
like 3 outfits in the entire country that will put up with that bullshit. And
Yeah.
I'm not one of them. No, fuck that.
And
If you want good beef, send me a message. I'll give you some good beef.
And that's the frustrating part, is less than 2% of the U.S. population. I think the last time I read it was 1.3% is involved in agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And I would venture to say of that 1.3%, most of them are farmers. Very few are involved in the beef industry. And my neighbor very prophetically told me when my dad passed away, our job as ranch owners is to propagate these ranches down to the next generation. And how are we supposed to do that with the death tax, the estate taxes, the capital gains taxes, property values, how are we supposed to propagate anything in ag to the next generation without going broke before we get there to let the next generation take over?
Well, and that's the big, honestly, I mean, that's the big question. And I don't know. I think honestly, like we're gonna just have to start say, fuck you. We're not paying federal taxes. Fuck you. You're not doing anything for us. Fuck your federal taxes. Yeah. And I know that's a big step. I think.
Yeah. I don't know. And the other problem is, I hear a lot of it, and I hear this more from farmers than ranchers, but there are so many government programs for farmers out there that, there's a lot of farmers operating on government welfare, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Almost all of them.
That and like I said, that's mostly more farmers than ranchers, but there's a lot that goes in it. If the government would just quit all that bullshit and quit taking our money for needless shit, because that's what, all the government programs, they're just giving you money for shit that you probably wouldn't have gotten.
Well, they're fixing the problem that they created is what's happened most of the time.
And that's the frustrating part, because I see it up here right now, because we are in, 126 or 146 year drought. The farmers around here get 10 to 1 more money on drought assistance than a beef guy does.
Yeah.
And yet they're the first ones to squeal about it. And I get that, but like I tell everybody, like I got to give a shout out to old Brian Brown out there in Washington. He says just cow farming. That's all he does is put up hay. And we're growing grass for these cattle, but say my check for drought assistance this year would be $0.1 compared to a wheat farmer, a canola farmer, or beet farmer over in the valley, which, sugar beets have went the way of the dairy farmer. It's so heavily subsidized. We're propping up, and I'm not saying I want to see everybody go broke, but we do need, we do live in a capitalistic society. That's part of the free market. I don't agree with what JBS and these guys are doing in the cow market, but at the same time, we do live in a global economy. And that's what most people don't realize is we are in a global economy. Yeah. But if we take some of these restrictions that we've placed upon ourselves at a bureaucratic level, I do honestly think it'd open up the game where we'd all have a little better playing field. Yeah, some of the smaller guys are going to go out of business, but those are the guys, like Lucas said, that are milking the system. And then you got a guy like me that has paid for his entire place through riding horses, shoeing, and put together a little rawhide and baling wire outfit. I don't get nothing out of that deal.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, no, and like guys like you are the people that we want to stay alive, because honestly, like you're gonna be selling fat calves to somebody in whether it be North Platte or Grand Island or whatever, but you're gonna be helping make the cash market, and that like we don't need like guys like you to go out of business. That's the big thing.
Yep. And I do, talking with some guys, I got a real good friend that understands economics and politics and he's a lawyer, so he understands that way better than I will. I'm just a dumb cowboy. But how do we get that through? I posed that question to him. How do we get that through to these people? And I think we're going to see a regression. And I hate the term factory farm because there's no factory farm. But
well, I think we're all factory farms at this point. Like we're just trying to put beef out in front of the people. That honestly, like, because I work in a feedlot. Am I a factory farm? I guess somewhat, but like no more than the next guy. I honestly I don't buy into that whole deal. It's just like,
well,
I don't know, man.
I think everybody is a factory farmer. Everybody's just whether it's farming or ranching, you're just a slave for the system at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say, but
yeah,
that's the one thing I do appreciate.
Farm theory is it applies to the little man as much as the big guys, because you're still slaves to that big guy packing system.
Yep. And that's where I was going. I do think we're going to see a resurgence. Maybe not this year, the next 5 years, but I do think we're going to come full circle. We're going to see a lot more smaller guys like myself popping up. The direct to consumer beef to table.
Yeah, I think
guys.
So too. And I've been pounding the table for that too, because I think that's the best thing that a rancher can do. The
direct to consumer thing is
well, I mean, just fuck everybody else. Stop paying all these dues to somebody else. Just do it yourself. I mean, that's what the whole West was built on. It's like, no, fuck that. I'll do it myself.
Yeah. In the next 5 to 10 years, a guy might be able to buy a piece of property that's 500 acres and run 100 head of cows and actually be able to pay for it and make a living again.
And that's where I've even toyed with that idea. I don't have a very big outfit, but I've toyed with the idea of putting a small little 100, 200 head feedlot in here. So I can grow enough feed for it on a normal year. The problem is the red tape and restrictions. It's actually harder. It's actually harder in North Dakota to put in a butcher and kill plant than California.
Really?
I believe it because North Dakota is right in kill plant country. So yeah, they're gonna just suck you down to nothing if they can. They changed that. That's how they do it.
They changed that regulation here about 10 years ago, and we used to have little butcher. We used to have guys come farm kill, haul them in. They're all gone. That's the frustrating part is we've got all this beef and not enough places to go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of where I hate the term factory farm. They say confinement. My cattle are range cattle. My cattle might spend all winter here in an 80-acre feed yard getting fed hay all winter, but then they get kicked out on grass as first we can. And then they don't. My cows literally run through the chute twice a year. Once in the spring to get poured, and then we run them through out in a portable set of kraals on a lease pasture in the fall to preg check and vaccinate. And that's it. My cattle don't ever see confinement at all. Yeah. So how do we take that model and continue to propagate that to from say my grass to your table without the 5 middlemen?
You gotta go about it on your own. I think that's the only way to do it. Honestly, I think that's the only way. I think you gotta, and it sucks. I hate saying this, but like you gotta, like it's gonna take guys like me and you and Lucas to put our own cattle up and just feed them out, ride that whole thing, and we might take a loss the first year, but the way shit's going, I think we'll be a step ahead. I really do.
Well, and it's interesting too, because that kind of leads into the horse market. Shoeing is what we do agriculturally to most people is their vacation. That's our vocation. We need to change that fundamental perspective of what we do and how we do it. on a
Exactly.
daily basis.
Understand,
We need
and
to
so
educate.
that's what I'm trying to do on Burning Daylight. And I'm maybe not doing the best of jobs, but that's what I'm trying to, more than anything, is just trying to get the regular person to realize what the fuck we deal with on a daily basis out here.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's funny because, you know, Lucas, I know you can, Matt, working in a feed yard, and I know Lucas can training horses, but you know, there's a lot of days it's up at 4:00 in the morning and you don't go to bed till 11:30 or midnight. And it's like that for months on end. And, you know, people look at us and you always hear the word romance and romantical and romanticized. Yeah, it's pretty romantical when you get, like tonight, I'm looking through my picture window looking west. And I mean, it looks like a 4th of July picture going off out there with the lightning on this big storm. But they don't realize.
But nobody sees that at 5:00 in the morning tomorrow.
No, and nobody sees me sitting here wondering, okay, are we going to get are we going to get hailed out? Are we going to get 4 inches of rain to wash my hay down? Or they're going to wash fences out? They don't see that, the people in town, because they go to their 9 to 5s or their 8 to 5s, and the boss man pays them. They got their vacation. They got this, that, and the other. They don't understand. Like I said earlier, it's my dick on the chop block. It's yours that at the end of the day, we have to make a go of this, because if we don't, we go bankrupt.
Well, and especially like on your end, where like and not, maybe I'm just cheering from the sidelines, but like every time I see somebody like you like make a stand out of it, like let's try something, man, I'm on your side. Let's fucking do it, man. Like we'll do what we can, and if you can't make a go out of it, fuck it. You know, at least you tried. At least you tried.
Well, and that's where a friend of mine said this here the other day, because I always got side hustles going. He told me, keep your side hustle strong. You know, my wife works in the oil field. I shoe horses. We ride colts. We sell horses. We got got Art of the Cowgirl coming up. We're running our little red horse through. We look at all that. We look at
Billings, right?
Well, Billings is BLS, and then we're going to Bozeman through Mesa Pate Sale, Mesa and Tammy Pate Sale there in Bozeman, you know, so we look at all that because the horse market right now is insane. It's higher than a giraffe's ass.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's incredible right now.
I love it because for guys like Lucas, it's getting a commission, or he's got some colts he owns, or he's riding for an outfit. You know, it's great for a guy like me that's owning them and riding them, making broke horses, you know, in that 6 to 9 year old range, selling them horses. That's where the market's at right now. And that all directly feeds back into paying that cow banker off, making my land payment. And people in town don't see that, you know. And I'll kind of pick on some of the feedlot guys, because a lot of them younger guys that are riding the feedlots don't understand that. You know, they're a lot of those guys are just there to pick up the paycheck, or the guys that go to work for the big outfits. They're just there to want to look cool and look at their pretty shadow and try to go choke a cow down. They don't understand.
8 to 5 jobs sometimes too. Not literally the time, but they're just drawing a paycheck the same way that some of those town people are sometimes.
Yeah. You know, so they don't look at that. The ranching is my main job. Shoeing is my side hustle. Selling horses is my side hustle. Welding in the wintertime is my side hustle. Putting in water tanks, building corrals. You know, they don't look at, I've got 15 different job titles, but I only get paid once a year.
Yeah, you got all these job titles, but at the end of the day, you're trying to cowboy for a living.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what it all boils down to. Like, we're not making a fortune here. We're just trying to make a living. And you're trying to make the best horses you can. At the same time,
when you have
go ahead.
When you have a bad day, my mom always thinks it's funny when I put up my little roping and choking. There ain't nothing better on this earth when I have a bad day, when I just go find a woofy cow and just choke her till her eyes bug and she sees pieces. I mean, that just puts you in an instantly good mood.
Yeah, it does. Yes, sir. That, or when it rains, one of those two. Like you get a good rain set in, or you get to go choke something. Nothing better to put a cowboy in a good mood.
As a horse trainer that's in Missouri currently, I'd just soon not see any more rain because I'm sick of having to paddle through my damn arena. I
You
can't
can
even
shoot
Well,
geese
yeah.
out of it.
because the damn
Yeah,
thing's
you're-
been
yeah.
soaking wet. No.
Shut the fuck up, guy.
I thought I'd rub that in a little bit. No.
Yeah.
Well,
The
Matt's out
Midwest
there in
has
the
been
You
swimming
got a
lately.
great fucking mustache, by the way, though, Lucas. Like that's a good mustache.
Yeah, I didn't. It's been so hot and humid around here lately. I haven't even groomed it.
Oh, it just sticks up on its own.
Yeah, I've just given up on it.
Well, I've been doing the same thing as Lucas here the last. We had a funeral for a young guy yesterday, so I waxed yesterday. But here the last week, I've been letting it throw out in the humidity up here because we've had these storms building.
Fuck yeah.
I do
Fuck
like.
yeah.
I gotta say, when I first grew my mustache a few years ago, which I've always kind of had one off and on, but there were hardly any guys that had mustaches like mine. I mean, I could count on like one hand, two fingers. And now I do like it that I see a lot more guys out there.
Oh, everybody
growing.
does it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
there
mean,
are a
well,
lot more in it.
what else am I gonna do with this shit? Because it's gonna end up in my mouth, so I gotta wax it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to keep it going out so you're not
Yeah.
eating it. Yeah.
No, I fuck fellas, this has been a good episode. I'm not gonna lie. Like let's do one more horse Karen between the two of us, or between the three of us. Both of you guys do that, and we'll call it a wrap for tonight.
I'll let Lucas go ahead first.
Oh, put me on the spot there, Derek. No.
Yeah, you got one now.
Oh, let's see. This seems a little bit trivial to some people, probably, but this really just rubbed me wrong.
I like it already.
Had a lady that wanted me to start a cult for her and said, yeah, I'd be glad to start a horse for you. And I didn't know who she was or anything like that, which who she was doesn't really matter. She wasn't anybody important. But
Yeah.
so I started this cult for her and kind of got it riding around, and it was doing okay. I mean, looking back now, it was probably about as bright as a bag of nails, but it was riding around at least. And so she said, okay. And I only rode it for 45 days or so probably. And she came to pick it up and wanted to see it ride. Yeah, absolutely. No problem. And so I just started brushing off and saddling it like always. And I threw a saddle on it and dropped my cinches on the other side and came back around and start cinching my saddle up. And my theory is I just suck it right into the rib cage on them from the get-go.
Yeah.
When they're an unstarted colt, maybe I shouldn't say cut them in half, but I try to suck it up tight enough to go rope something in theory, not that I'm going to on the first ride, but.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm almost, I've probably got 30 rides at least on this horse at this point. And I went and I sucked that cinch up like I always do. And that lady had to come apart because she thought you were only supposed to tighten that cinch halfway until you gypped them around, and then you can tighten the cinch up and get on them. And I just sucked the cinch in it and was getting ready to step on. I mean, she had a fucking meltdown. Called me, I shouldn't say every name in the book because she wasn't that loud, but I mean, she ranted at me for 5 or 10 minutes. Well, I'm exaggerating again. But the point of the story was she was mad that I just sucked a cinch into this colt to step on it. It's like, how ignorant can a person be that they're offended by just tightening the cinch up? And I'm not, I'm sucking it down tight enough to step on that I could rope something if I needed to, just to get them up. Because I hate stepping on a 4-year-old colt that you have to step off 10 minutes later and tighten the cinch back up because they're cinchy. I just get it over with when they're a 2-year-old. If they're going to throw a fit about it, they'll just get over it early. But like I said, it sounds trivial, but damn, that just pissed me off and rubbed me upside down the wrong way both directions.
Yeah, I can understand. Derek, how about you?
Oh, I had a little school teacher, ex-school teacher here a couple, 2, 3 years ago that as typical, everybody gives me calls and tries to get a hold of me for forever and a day. And I tell them when I get a chance, I'll get there. And typical, she wanted me out there on weekends. And I said, ma'am, you got one choice, like a Friday at 2:00, and that's it. So I shows up. And right off the bat, I see 2 yearlings and a ratty, and them yearlings are both at that just butt ugly fugly stage. I mean, goddamn, look like giraffes and nasty old spaviny feet on them. And I'm thinking, geez, this is probably not a good thing for me to step into, but we'll see what she's got. I mean, paycheck to paycheck. And she comes around the corner eating this little black and white paint mare, and this thing is dragging her like a pit bull dragging a piece of red meat around that yard. And she says she's normally not this crazy. I think she's scared of your cowboy hat. And I said, well, I ain't got a ball cap, so what I wear is what I wear. She makes about 4 or 5 laps around the shoe and rig, and I finally just steps out and I grab the lead rope and I said, I'm just going to tie her up to the trailer. Oh, God, she don't tie. Oh, God, she don't tie. Well, she's going to stand tight because I don't trust you to hold her for me to crawl under. So after a little bit of convincing, I tied her to the D-ring of the shoeing rig there. And oh, shit, I didn't even get my Amblestat out of the shoeing rig there, and she sat back 4 or 5 times, jumped up on the fender of the shoeing trailer. The lady's scared to death she's gonna hurt herself. And I said, Doc, she ain't gonna hurt my trailer. I ain't worried about the trailer. I didn't give 2 shits about her horse, Get everything set up, and she comes out with this notebook, one of them little spiral wound flip notebooks, and she says, I'm gonna read you off all the things that are wrong with her front feet. And I said, well, I can just kind of look at them and tell you what's wrong with her. She's long in the toe, low in the heel, and she's over at the knee. I said, have you ever had a set of x-rays on her? She says, well, why would I want to do that? Well, I'd like to know how that fetlock's stacking up, what that coffin bone's doing in there.
Please let me know.
I don't have x-ray vision, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I wallered over to that old paint mare, and I reached down to pick up behind foot. She kind of cow kicked and swatted out at me, and I didn't, like normal, didn't really think much of it. I just took palm of my hand, slapped her in the belly, and told her to stand up, stand. Well, I got about a 2.5-minute lecture over you can't beat on that mare because she's been beat on by other farriers. And I'm like, well, she's either going to stand for me to crawl under, so I can look at this foot, see what we're going to do, or I'm just going to pack up and go home. She says, you'd really do that? I've done it to a lot more people than just you, ma'am. So I finally got that front foot jacked up between my knees, and I mean, paper thin old soles. And I told her what I wanted to do, and she says, well, the last 2 guys didn't do it that way. And I said, well, I ain't the last 2 guys. You evidently must have heard something about me to get her fixed. That's why you called me. And I made one little bitty, like, I don't know, I don't think I even took 1/8 of an inch off with the nipper run and went to knife it. And, oh my God, we don't knife soles here. We don't touch soles. We don't touch frogs. And
Jesus Christ.
The typical kind of the horsey lady that knows everything about shoeing but can't put none of it to practice. I said, well, why don't you get your beak down here and show me what you're talking about? I'll be goddamned if that goofy old little school teacher didn't stick her beak about that far from that horse's front foot. And all I could think of was, why couldn't you cow kick now, you rotten paint bitch? You kick her right in the guts. Oh, I was if the good Lord was ever going to smile on a dog's ass, that should have been the moment right there, and just cow killed her the next week. But I never did shoe for that lady again. She told me I was too rough around the edges to deal with her fragile little paint mare. But yes, God, I'd love to see her get cow kicked in the next week.
What's that old idiom with the good Lord protects children and the idiots, or the children
something
and the
like that, yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Boy, if that isn't the most true thing in the world.
Yes, sir.
My motto is you can't kill a Norwegian by hitting them in the head.
Yeah.
Well, let's call that for the Patreon show. After that, after tonight, after this is all Patreon. So Lucas, sign us off, buddy.
Move your ass, boys. We're burning daylight.
Boom. I like it. And